Hello? Is anybody there? Is it on your page?
No. It does say live.
Facebook Live. Hey, is anybody out there? Can you see me? Can you hear me? Let's see what's happening. It's Thursday. Happy Thursday, everybody. This is Miracle Twist. Let's see. Is Miracles with a Twist live? Are we live? Yes, it says live. Hello? It says it's live, but I don't...
Oh yeah, here comes the message. I don't see it. Okay, get going. I'll see.
Okay.
I got it now.
Hey. Oh, okay, I see. Now we're getting going. Hi, everybody. Happy Thursday. It's Thursday, 7 o'clock, Miracles with a Twist. And today's about as twisty as it can get because we've never done this before. I miss all of you in my presence being together. But we'll see how today goes, and it will be week by week. We'll make our decisions as the weeks go by. This week was especially restrictive because the municipalities have decided that even though religious organizations are exempt, they have restricted the amount of people who get together, which meant basically just 3 of us could get together. So this way all of us can be together, and if you have a question or a comment, please put it in the chat box. And I have here with me 2 assistants. I have Melanie, she's a human, checking the chat box. And we have Ernesto, he's a canine, and he'll just be providing the cuteness factor. So today is April 9th, and we are here doing the best we can under the circumstances. Tomorrow at 3 o'clock, Sacred Journey Interfaith Seminary is going to do its 4th annual Sacred Stations event, and that's from the Sacred Journey Interfaith Seminary page. Not this page, a different page. So please join us on that page tomorrow at 3 o'clock. It's our annual honoring of Good Friday. So we'll begin as we always do, together. Please just take a moment to get grounded where you are. Take a nice deep breath. And we'll begin with our song. This is our song, Here's My Heart, Lord. It's the way we dedicate our hearts, our minds, our fears, our judgments, everything that we need to put aside in order to be truly connected to the divine. Here we go.
Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord.
Oh, it's a little bit delayed. It's happening now.
Here's my heart, Lord.
Yes?
Speak what is true.
Well, now.
Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord.
It's okay.
Here's my heart, Lord.
It's backwards.
Speak what is true.
You know the words. Let's all just hold up a mirror to your screen.
I am loved. I'm made pure. I have life. I can breathe. I am healed. I am free. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Speak what is true, 'cause I am found, I am yours, I am loved, I'm made pure. You endure. You are good, always true. You are light, breaking through.
All right, let's all put our hand on our heart. Take a nice deep breath. Feel your heartbeat. Press your hand against your chest so you really feel your heartbeat. I know the words are backwards, but we gotta just do the best we can here. Here's my life, here's my heart. Offering all up to Spirit. Release our judgments, release our fears. We start every day opening our hearts and our minds to the guidance of Spirit. We start every day, first thing in the morning, open your eyes and say, here I am, Lord. Here's my heart. I know you know this song. Even if you see it backwards, you know the words. In a minute now, we're going to raise our voices. All right, sing so loud so I can hear you over here in my home chapel. Come on, everybody. Here's my heart, Lord. Here's my heart, Lord. Speak God's truth. Here's my life, Lord. Here's my life, Lord. All right, take a nice deep breath. Let's spend a moment just setting our own intentions for this time together. Our prayers for the world, our prayers for our brothers and sisters who are suffering, our brothers and sisters who are on the front line, and for our own personal intentions. Allowing ourselves to be calm and centered. So we begin. If anybody came on before we got started, I just wanted to remind you that this is just going to be a week-by-week decision. We'll see what happens next week to see if we can be together or if we have any other alternatives. Also a reminder that tomorrow at 3 o'clock we have our Sacred Stations event at 3 o'clock on the Sacred Journey Interfaith Seminary page. So I wanted to start out by having a little review from last week. One of the things we talked about last week was what it would be like to truly believe in miracles and to be bringers of miracles into the world, and what it takes to change our mindset around what it is that's happening in the world so that we can be more centered in spirit, more peaceful, have more of a peaceful center as we deal with whatever it is that's coming up. And as the weeks go by, we hear more and more sad stories, and we feel very concerned about what's happening. And at the same time, we think about what we can do to be of service. And there are things that we can do, especially if you're not working. There are people in need of volunteer services, like food distribution, things like that. But more importantly, on a spiritual level, we want to remain grounded and calm. We want to be part of the mindset that prepares for the shift that's going on. There's a shift that's going on. It's not just about a virus. It's about mentality. It's about how we survive spiritually and emotionally. So last week we were talking about miracles, and I was referring to the CE version of A Course in Miracles. And so for those of you who haven't seen it, most of us work from the blue book, the Foundation for Inner Peace book, which is the most popular, most common. There's a new version with 45,000 extra words, which is the Circle of Atonement version. They just call it CE. And the Miracle Principles, 1 through 50, are much more detailed in this book. And this is what I read from last week. I was talking about Miracle Principle number 26, which says, a miracle rearranges the order of perception and places the levels in their true perspective. So in other words, instead of getting caught up in fear and judgment and whatever it is that happens in our minds from the emotional place, it allows us to be in a place of true perception, meaning that we can think and feel and respond to what's going on from a centered place within ourselves, more centered emotionally, more centered spiritually. So what it says here is that the purpose of the atonement is to restore everything, to restore your awareness of everything. And it says, you now share my inability to tolerate lack of love in yourself and in everyone else, and must join the great crusade to correct it. The slogan for this great crusade is listen, learn, and do. Listen to my voice, learn to undo error, and do everything to correct it. Everything and anything. So this is the only time in A Course in Miracles, in this entire book, that it makes a reference to a great crusade. So if ever we want to think about what a great crusade would be, it would be a time when there's a crisis, a turning point, and a shift that needs to occur, which I would think is right now, right here and now. And so after we had that conversation last week, I came across a post on Facebook from a group that calls themselves Temple of Isis. And it says, the world is changing and I'm on the transition team. So I think that's what all of us are here for, whether it's Course in Miracles or another spiritual path that you're dedicated to, that there's a transition happening and we're part of that transition. We want to come out of this with a sense of purpose and a sense of how we can live our lives differently from how it was. And everyone says there's going to be a new normal. And so we don't go into the new normal bitter and angry. We want to go into the new normal transformed in our hearts and in our minds, so that we can be a part of what's really going to provide healing in our world, in our lifetime. So if you have your book, you can we can look at some lessons, but if not, that's okay, because I'm going to be jumping around anyway. This is a very powerful week. This week, Sunday started with Palm Sunday, which is from the Christian tradition. We had the full moon. We have Passover, which is in the Jewish tradition. We also have one of the Buddhist sects had a New Year. And we have the full moon, and then we have Easter on the other side. So all of these holy days, auspiciously synchronized days in 1 week, have to do with survival. These are all holy observations of a time when there was a major transition, whether it was in the Christian community or the Jewish community or the Buddhist community, or even in the Wiccan community, if you want to think of that as being the honoring of the earth and the moon. So every full moon, we're looking at transition. We're looking at the symbology of the transition from waxing to waning to fullness and then to emptiness. But now, in all these traditions, they're looking at a crisis that occurred and that resulted in overcoming. And what was overcome was fear and doubt. And it was overcome by persistence, perseverance, courage, and an inability within ourselves to want to do it any other way other than moving forward and being a voice for a new way of being, a new earth, so to speak. So that was then historically, and now this is now. Now this is now, and we are resurrecting this idea of building within ourselves a sense of purpose to bring in a new way of life, a new way of perceiving life, a new way of seeing each other, a new way of interacting with each other, and being able to put ourselves into this place of commitment. That's what A Course in Miracles is telling us, to constantly, every day, put yourself in a place of commitment and dedication to doing better, being better, continuously moving into this place of understanding that whenever your mind starts to wander into a place of unkindness or unhappiness, or even whether it's about yourself or someone else, that you can change your mind. You can make a decision to change your mind. In fact, there was Unity has the daily word, as many of you are familiar with, and there was a daily word yesterday that I really liked a lot, a part of what it said, and I wanted to quote this one part here. It says, "Whenever I feel lost, disheartened, or upset, I pause and close my eyes, breathe deeply. Any disturbing thought that comes to me becomes an instant prompt to remember the power within me to change my thinking." So in A Course in Miracles, it's saying that the changing of your thinking is a holy instant and it's a miracle. So if you think of it as a prompt, when you're starting to think in a way that's not helpful or hopeful or kind or caring or coming from a loving place, you can recognize that as a prompt to change your thinking. When we change our thinking, we become miracle workers, even in that moment. That's the miracle, that we can change our mind and decide to see things differently. And then the second part of that is how we act, how we perform an act of kindness. The maximal expression of love is when we are in a forgiving mindset. So we forgive the trigger, whatever it was that upset us, and then we forgive ourselves for being triggered. So let's go on to our lessons. Any questions?
No questions.
No questions yet. Okay. I miss you guys. Okay. 97. I really like this one a lot because it became like a chant in my head all day on the 7th, 2 days ago. So it would have been Tuesday. It says, "I am spirit." And in paragraph 2 it says, "You are the spirit lovingly endowed with all your Father's love and peace and joy. You are the spirit which completes himself and shares his function as creator. He is with you always as you are with him." So when you think about being a creator, it doesn't mean back from scratch. It means now, creating now, a new world, a new way of thinking, a new way of being. And that's what we have all been endowed with, the ability to do that. And so then the question is, are we willing to? And it's not that we have to find a skill, we just have to recognize it and open up to it. It's kind of like a kid who's singing around the house, and one day their parent realizes that, wow, you have a beautiful voice. And you're opening up to the realization that you have this beautiful voice, or you have a talent for an instrument. That's already there, but now it's being recognized and realized and then utilized. That's what's happening with us right now. The ability to be the creators of a new earth already exists within us. So we have to recognize it and then move forward with it, with our willingness and a recognition of our ability to do so. So it says, throughout the day, Spirit am I, holy child of God, free of limits, safe and healed and whole, free to forgive and free to save the world. And you know, whenever it talks about the world, I like to remind you that it's talking about the world in which you exist right here and now. You know, an act of kindness on my part might help Ernesto or Melanie or any one of you or a stranger even, and that might be a perspective that changes their world somehow. An act of kindness, an act of forgiveness especially. So then, 98. I will accept my part in God's plan for salvation. So that's the second part. So now we realize that it's in us, it's within us, and so we're being asked, do you want to do it? So going back to the example of the little kid who recognizes that they have a musical talent, do you want to do something with it or not? Melanie's daughter plays an instrument.
French horn.
Plays a French horn. And it was just sort of a natural ability, but now she wants to play ukulele, right? Does she want to play ukulele?
Guitar.
Oh, she wants to play guitar. So it's like, you know, is the guitar going to come as natural as the other one? When the other one was really where her talent was. Well, she's tired of it. She doesn't want to do it anymore. So it's just like us. You know, are you going to get compassion fatigue? Are you going to get tired of being a part of this new earth? The thing is, you might get tired of it, but you'll never not know that it's within you once you know that it's within you. And once you know, like her daughter will always know that she can play the French horn, but she can decide whether or not to play it. Listen, all of us have free will. We can decide whether or not we want to rise to the occasion and to accept our part in God's plan for salvation. It's up to you. You can say, yes, right now, yes, I do. I want to be there, and I want to do whatever is asked of me. And you will be urged from within, nudged. You'll be recognizing that there's something that is coming in you, through you, when the time is right. Whether it's just that moment where you interact with someone in a way that helps them change their mind. Not that you're telling them that they have to, but just simply by your example. When I was in seminary, I've said this many times, that the last day of seminary, right before we got ordained, the last day of retreat, we're like, what do we do now? And you know, I've often said, I wanted to hop a train and leave because I was like, oh no, they've allowed the wrong person in. But our deans told us, you may be the only Bible anyone ever reads. The example that you live your life, the way you live your life, may be the turning point for someone else. It may be the only opportunity for them to see something being done differently than how they thought the average person would do it. So an act of kindness instead of an act of reactivity might help someone to see things differently. And that's how we accept our part in the plan of making the world saved. Saved in the sense that we're moving to a mindset of atonement, at one-ment, recognizing that we don't have to be in the struggle. There's a lot of stuff going on, but it's for us to maintain a sense of recognition that when this passes, and it will pass over, that we will then be changed at depth, and the depth of our change will be one that allows us to function as the voice of peace, an instrument of peace, the voice of kindness and compassion. So it says, how happy it is to be certain all our doubts we can lay aside and take our stand with certainty of purpose and with thanks that doubt is gone and surety has come. We have a mighty purpose to fulfill and have been given everything we need with which to reach the goal. So you can just say within yourself, I will accept my part in God's plan for salvation. And for all of us, it might be different. The opportunity will come in different ways, but it's always going to be the same type of interaction. An interaction of forgiveness, kindness, compassion, love. It says in 99 now, we'll move on to lesson 99. Salvation is my only function here. It's the only thing that's asked of us is to do whatever it is we can do to move ourselves into a place of readiness. So I know for me, we've got, starting yesterday, so we had from yesterday to Sunday, there's 5 days before Easter. In my childhood, I grew up Latin, Puerto Rican, Easter, Catholic. If you're Latin, you're Catholic back in those days. And, Easter was a day to, get up and put on really scratchy clothes and go to church. and I didn't really understand the significance of it. But as looking at it from a more metaphysical perspective from the Course in Miracles says, don't focus on the crucifixion, focus on the resurrection. The resurrection is the resurrection within ourselves to do better, be better, to see ourselves as rising above the ways of the ego, the ways of fear, the ways of our subconscious programming. So we move into a place where we can pray harder, rise higher, love steadily, pray readily, love readily, forgive. All those things that are part of our mantra to keep moving ourselves forward on this path. So we rise up. So what I wanted to do for these past 5 days has been like a real strong mental discipline. I don't know if you've ever heard about the mental diet. I think it was Emmett Fox from Science of Mind who came up with the mental diet, where you have very strong disciplined control over your negative thinking. And I actually assigned it, one time I assigned it to a client. I was telling her about this this process where you just watch your mind, and when your mind starts going into a negative place, whether it's against yourself or against somebody else, or you start thinking about things in the past, or you start worrying about the future, you use this discipline, this mental discipline to redirect your thinking. You can have a mantra, you can have a Course in Miracles lesson. I can see peace instead of this. Love and joy and peace abide in me. Whatever it is, you can bring yourself back to that. So I told this client, this was a long time ago, when I was doing talk therapy, that I wanted her to see if she can work on releasing negative thinking for a week, between the weeks that we were seeing each other. So the next time I saw her, she said, oh, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it for more than like a half a day at a time. And I said, oh, I forgot to tell you, it took me 6 months to do it. It takes a long time to discipline your mind before you can go like every single day. So I just gave myself 5 days, and I invite you to take those 5 days with me, to move into a place of just really allowing whatever comes into your mind that's not of love, to just see if you can redirect it, and just allow yourself to move into a place of peace by using some of these prompts. Remember, the temptation is to move into a different way of thinking, negative thinking, against yourself or maybe against someone else. And you can use it as a prompt to say, well, salvation is my function. I'm going to focus on being at peace. I can see peace instead of this. Thank you, Tanzoa, for the bracelet. It says, I can see peace instead of this. So this says, all the world of pain is not God's will. Forgive yourself the thought that he would ever want this of you. Let the thought that which he has replaced all your mistakes enter the darkened place of your mind, that the thoughts were never his will. He has replaced all your mistakes. You know, in the cameo, in one of the cameos in the CE edition, there's a story that Jesus tells Helen about knowing everything. He knows her heart. He knows her mind. He knows where her thoughts have been. And he knows the guilt that she has about them, about her past behaviors. And he tells her to let them all come to a place of recognition that they have been forgiven. Because in order for you to wipe the slate clean within yourself, you have to release that guilt that is driving you to think that you're not worthy. And once you wipe that slate clean, then you can do the work, because you'll know that you're worthy of it. And you'll know that you're worthy of the one who that in giving compassion receives compassion. Buddhists call it wise selfishness. To be able to bring yourself to this place of just recognizing that everything is an opportunity, everything is a prompt and an opportunity for you to change the way the world is currently functioning to the place it needs to be. And you're a big and vital part of that. So the lessons continue into the week, right? Because we are in right now, we are in 98. 99, I just said 98. So tomorrow it says, my part is essential to God's plan for salvation. In recognizing that we are essential, kind of like right now, right? Kind of like right now in the middle of coronavirus. Like, who's an essential worker? Like, people who are on the front lines are the essential workers. If you're not an essential worker, you're expected to stay home. Course in Miracles says we're essential workers. We are essential. And as long as we have doubt about that, then it's almost like just staying home and shutting the door, right? Because we're not going to function from a place of recognizing that that is who we are and that's why we're here. Still no questions in the chat box? You guys aren't talking to me today. It says, give 5 minutes gladly to remove the heavy load you lay upon yourself with the insane belief that your sins are real. Escape from the madness. You are set on freedom's road, and now today's idea brings wings to speed you on. Meaning, God's will for you is perfect happiness. Perfect happiness. In spite of everything. There has never been a time when the truth of hell and damnation has really existed from a loving God. I remember a story of Paramahansa Yogananda, who I have loved and studied for many years. He's the author of Autobiography of a Yogi, if you've ever read that, and he was the founder of Self-Realization Fellowship. And he tells a story about visiting with a man who was very strict Orthodox religion, and he believed in hell and damnation. And he was telling him the story according to the scriptures that he believed in. So at some point in the evening, while they were hanging out together, the man's son came in. And the man and his son got into a little bit of an argument because the son was supposed to have been home at an earlier time, and he was supposed to bring in some food for the guest, which is Paramahansa Yogananda. And so they got into an argument, and he sent his son to his room. And Paramahansa Yogananda said, I have an idea. Why don't we build a fire in the backyard and we'll throw your son in it? The guy was like, what, are you crazy? Why would I do that? And he said, that's my point, exactly. Why would a God who loves you throw you into hell and damnation to suffer for all eternity? So the Course is trying to remind us that that is not your destiny. It never was. Some of us were indoctrinated with that. We were indoctrinated with fear. The Course is telling us that right here, right now, we can find our purpose and live our purpose. And we don't have to live in guilt and in fear of anything that we've done in the past, because we can forgive ourselves. And once we really truly do that, then we sort of free up our hearts. Still no questions?
No questions.
Okay, you guys.
Quiet bunch today.
You're a quiet bunch today. All right, so the CE edition is the edition that we're going to be talking with for next few weeks. So if you don't have it, it's okay. I'm going to be using it. And I'll be using both of them. But you don't have to worry about that. Just bring your own. And we'll see where we go, see what we do. So, okay, there's nothing more. We're going to wrap it up. I know it's early, but that's really all I have for you for tonight. I have a good ending song, and I realize that I bring the song to you and the words are backwards. But it's better than just sitting here looking at me. Or I could hold Ernesto up. We could look at Ernesto for a little while. So this is a classic one. You all know this one. You're going to love it. They played it this morning. I work at the nursing home. And my good friend Maria, who's also our executive director, she wanted to do something to lift people's spirits. So they tapped into the sound system, the PA system, and they found a way to play music for the staff. And this is the one we started out with. You all know this one. It's a beautiful song. It's a great way to end. And I think that in spite of the fact that the words are backwards,
You said hold up Ernesto.
you'll still know this song. And it's got nice visuals. Who said that?
Sarah.
Sarah, of course. You all know this one. You raised me up. So take a moment, put Put your hand on your heart. There's about a minute of instrumental, but it's very pretty. So I'll show you the video. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it? Oh, that's me. Hello. Hi, everybody. Can you come on it? It's a great song, very inspirational. I think that you can all sing along because you probably know the words.
It's just coming across the white screen.
All right.
When I am down and oh my soul so weary, when troubles come and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in the silence till you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. Raise me up to more than I can be.
It's a song to God, to our faith. It's a song to remind us that no matter what's going on, no matter where we are, no matter how we are, that there's always something bigger, greater, in charge, in control. Just have faith in that. Allow yourself to really believe it. You're going to be okay. You're part of the transition team. You're part of the Great Crusade. We need you.
You raise me up so I can stand on mountains.
There's a face.
You raise me up to walk on stormy seas.
Hang on. There's Melanie.
When I am on your shoulders, you raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up.
Are you singing? I hope so. I hope you're all singing. Let this move you. So let's just take a nice deep breath together. So wonderful to be together with all of you this way. Anyway, it's always good to be with you. And we'll keep in touch so I can let you know what we're going to be doing next week. All right, this is our end prayer. You are indeed essential to God's plan. Just as your light increases every light that shines in heaven, so your joy on earth calls to all minds to let sorrow go and take your place beside you in God's plan. So thank you. You are the light of the world. You are essential You are essential. You're an essential worker in God's plan for salvation. Good night. I love you guys.
Bye.
Ernesto and Melanie say bye.
Bye.
Don't know how to turn it.
Bye.